Hi, welcome to Leap Taken. This is Mika. Here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things craft related, witchy, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. So today I just wanted to talk a little bit about changing your path and how to go about doing that for your greater good, effectively, successfully. So I started off as probably a lot of people who came into the Wiccan or pagan faith. Wicca is how I started off. I don't know why I'm getting tongue tied. I started off with Wicca, and served me well. It opened the door up to me to just this whole life that I live now, as far as my spirituality. So very grateful to Wicca. Don't have any problems with it. I have nothing negative to say about it, and I still actually use some of the practices I learned while I was calling myself Wiccan. Now I would probably say I was more eclectic, but anyway, um, getting off of that path wasn't something that I did just because someone told me to, or because of books I read, or because of what people were saying online. I got off of the path because I literally felt eventually just pulled in other directions, and it no longer made sense for me to refer to myself as Wiccan. So that's really how my transition happened. It was gradual and it was over a period of time. I do think it's possible that I could have stayed a practitioner of Wicca and learned all the things that I learned, used those things, put those in my arsenal when I wanted to, and still called myself Wiccan, which I see a lot of people do. I didn't have to, just kind of distance myself from that entire spiritual system altogether. But one of the reasons I did is because honestly, I don't follow the threefold law. That's a thing when you're Wiccan. Although some people say, "Well, I'm Wiccan and I don't follow it." I mean, that's fine, but it's part of it. Um, I observe some things that might be considered the Sabbaths, and they follow that. So I participate in those, even though I'm not Wiccan. But outside of that, the other things, and again, it's not like organized religion like Christianity or being Muslim or something like that. So it's not so structured, and there's not a lot of dogma. But there are some overall things. The threefold law is kind of like the thing. And again, I respect it, but it's not something that I follow, or I'm willing to put it to put it aside to do what I need to do. Anyway, um, other things resonated with me more. So that's really just what happened. Other things resonated with me more, and I took an eclectic approach, hence being an eclectic witch. Majority of this craft path that I've been walking, told you I'm tongue tied. This path that I've been walking, the craft that I've been practicing has been more of an eclectic craft. Because I've been, going off of what I laid my foundation with, which was Wicca, and then building from there and using a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And to this day, I see nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of us probably are eclectic, whether we realize it or not, even if we're giving ourselves a different label, but that's just my observation. Um, but to the matter at hand, if you want to get off your chosen path and you want to go to something else. Now, these are going to be, I'm speaking more extremes, meaning it's still under the umbrella of witchcraft, practicing witchcraft. You would still probably refer to yourself as a witch, or at least be within circles where other witches are, and maybe you're calling yourself a healer or a light worker or whatever else. But you're still kind of on, you're still in a group with the rest of us. But the path is totally different, and that I totally get that. It's probably coming from Wicca to voodoo would be a leap, or some Santeria or something like that. That would be a leap. The way you would go about doing that is basically you learn in the same way hopefully you did when you became, in this example, when you decided to say, hey, I'm Wiccan now. You learned about it, you sourced it out, you researched, did, maybe you actually put things in practice, not just read everything, and it resonated with you and you continued forward. Do the same thing with your new path. Don't give up your old stuff. Don't throw all your, give away all your books about Wicca and, um, talk down on it, or basically just, devalue it because, you're not doing that anymore. You're doing this other thing. I caution you, don't do that. That's not the right approach because clearly things resonated with you. You were maybe successful in contacting certain deities or spirits, and I would not be very quick to just dismiss all that. And it's disrespectful for one, and in my opinion, I think you could be inviting some negativity into your life if you take that approach. How I would go about it is I would just gradually, I would still continue to do what resonates with me under my original system, and then I would gradually add in more pieces of the new as I learn, and eventually phase the other one out. Maybe you want to do some sort of ritual using your new system, spiritual path or spiritual system, to sort of divorce yourself of this other path. And you're probably not going to find that in the book. I haven't seen anything like that before, but I'm thinking the ritual would basically, I'll probably have a candle, a white candle, just, to be done with it, but, it's kind of general purpose. Maybe a white candle, something that's going to burn in that day. I would have a white candle. I would probably, sage the area, or some sort of cleansing incense or something like that, where you kind of cleanse the air. I would go with that of energies and anything unwanted. Sage comes to mind again. Just keep it very general, light. Nothing. You're not trying to banish anything. So I would probably do that, and then just heartfelt words that you write down at first and maybe speak, just read it out loud, about how you're grateful to all that Wicca has done for you and led you to this point, and it wasn't, it was a necessary journey to get you to the point that you are now, and you're forever grateful to all the spirits and any, name the gods and goddesses that you may be related to under the Wicca umbrella, and yeah, just be very grateful and sincere, and just say a goodbye and a farewell for now, and maybe burn where you wrote those notes, and I would probably burn it in a cauldron. Let the candle go out, and speak something to the effect of, as the candle burns, so does the releasing of the connection with this particular faith, and uninitiate yourself, so to speak. Use those terms if you have to, but I would go about it that way. I would be very deliberate about unfollowing, and that's a gradual process. That's once I'm very sure about this other path. So, quick story. There was a time a few years ago, just a couple of years ago actually. I was working with this, or attempting to work with a specific goddess, and this goddess has nothing to do with like me ancestral wise anywhere at all. And I wanted to work with this goddess because honestly, I kept seeing so much information in so many different places about her. So I said, okay, maybe it's a coincidence. I didn't believe so, so I tried working with her. It wasn't a negative experience. It wasn't really much of anything out of the experience other than I felt like she wanted more of a commitment. This energy, this goddess wanted more of a commitment than I was willing to give. And I had set up a space for an altar for her, a space not far from my altar that I have for another goddess, and also my ancestor altar. So yeah, that didn't. I don't think that worked out so well. I don't think that was a good space, and I wasn't willing to provide a different space in my home. And I'll do a video on how, ultimately I just disassembled the altar, and as time went on, first I didn't do any, the altar was still there, I just didn't do anything with it. Eventually it was dismantled. But again, that was something I chose I could have forced the situation. Let me just be clear. I could have forced this relationship with this goddess and just kept going on. But I would have been doing it for the wrong reasons. I would have been doing it to see if I was going to have the same results that I saw others had with this goddess. And I was very aware of that. So I was like, I don't want that type of dynamic. Um, so I backed off. And I'm glad I did, because I don't think at that time, I say at that time because you never know, that was, I would be able to serve this goddess. I would not be able to connect the way I think she was used to her followers connecting with her, where they're a lot more devout than I was willing to be. Had I done that, I would have been choosing a new path for my witchcraft. The way I practice now, I wouldn't be calling myself a cottage witch. I doubt that. It would have been something a little bit different. And there was, there wasn't any big thing that made me realize that. Again, just listening to my own intuition and realizing you're going to alter something that doesn't need to be altered. It would have been the worst thing in the world for me to go down that path. I don't think so, but I don't think it was necessary. And I already made commitments to myself and, to my ancestors and to various spirits. So I feel like if I've already, engaged them and about doing, living my life a certain way, doing a certain type of thing, to do something else would be too different, and it would be, betraying the promises and the commitments that I've already made. So I backed out of that situation. So that's just an example to, if you attempted to go down a path and then you realize of witchcraft, that is, and you realize, maybe that's not for me after all, and you kind of want to, get out of it, you can very well do so. I'll go do a whole video about that, because again, that particular goddess, if I had followed the path with her, everything would have been different. So it wasn't just so much as, yeah, it's the whole thing. But anyway, just know that there is a way to sort of divorce yourself of the situation and, move on. I didn't uninitiate myself from, my eclectic ways. Not that, I mean, I could if I wanted to, I guess. I hadn't thought of it if you're more eclectic, but I didn't, sort of make a decision that I was no longer following my current spiritual path. So I was able to just kind of jump back on. All I was doing was really just trying and seeing. I was kind of dipping my toe into the waters of that goddess and seeing how that would work out. Water didn't feel good, so I just took my toe out, and kept going back on my merry way on my regularly scheduled current path. So that's definitely another approach that you can go on. But I bring all this up, and this video actually wasn't something I planned, but after seeing so many, things, whether it's on Instagram and then in the individual groups that I belong to, where I see a lot of people saying, hey, I'm new, and they're coming from something else that's not necessarily Judeo-Christian. I can tell, excuse me, everybody doesn't always say what, but the point is they're coming from some other pagan system or spiritual path or something. And it's very interesting to see. It's nothing wrong with wanting to learn more and to admit that you're new. We all were learning and being new at one point, so there's nothing wrong with that. Their eagerness to just abandon everything they've ever known is what kind of gets my attention. And I see this often, and I'm just thinking, are you sure you want to take this approach? Are you sure you just want to, is it completely not working for you? It brought you this far, so there had to be something there, because it was at least the catalyst to get you to this point. So don't disregard it so quickly. That's all I'm saying. Just be mindful when you're, we're all learning. A lot of us, don't have those connections that some people have because of the way we were raised, in a Christian household probably, where witchcraft wasn't something people practiced. Even if they were doing certain things that fall under witchcraft, they were doing these things, but they weren't connecting. Excuse me, I don't know why that's happening. They weren't connecting spirituality to what they were doing. So yeah, they had little ways they would do what we call superstitions, but there wasn't any kind of spirituality in conjunction with that. So once you add the spiritual piece, for me, at least for the way I practice witchcraft, that's what sort of makes it come alive for for it's the only way I could explain it for me. That's the way it gets real for me. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about that. It's just a quick video where I wanted to just remind you if you're on a path right now, and you're veering off to something else, it's okay. Do so. I think we all have different turns in our journeys on this whole witchcraft spiritual trip that we're on. It's perfectly fine if you want to detour, get off, or even take a break. I totally get that. Just be mindful of whatever brought you to the place that you're at. Don't be so quick to disregard it. That's kind of disrespectful. So just once you've made a decision, you're done with that, and then do it the right way. Do a little ritual to kind of put a pin in that, and it's or nail in the coffin. I'm not good with words today. Hopefully you understand what I mean, just to kind of end that relationship with that particular spiritual system. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm clearly having some allergy issues today, so I'm going to end it here. Thank you for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed this content, and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.